It's that time of the year again, where depending on where you live, snow starts to fall and ice starts to form, and all the festive stuff happens. Snow and ice tracks in Mario Kart, though, are not as quite happy and festive as they are in real life. They're quite divisive in this community. Some people love them, and some people hate them.
Well, Sherbetland, you're an odd fellow, but I must say, you're just an ice track, so as a result, I don't really like you that much.
Ice and snow tracks are defined by a few things: festive, upbeat music, slippery ice physics, and lots of white and blue colors. Anyways, now that we know what we're doing and what an ice and snow track even is, let's begin with our list. But first, let's explain what each tier means. F is an absolute dumpster fire and a quote unquote course. E tier is absolutely awful, but they have a tiny little bit of a saving grace. D tier is a decent amount below the Mario Kart track's average. C tier is the average of all Mario Kart tracks, it's the middle of the road. B tier, a bit above the pack in terms of Mario Kart tracks, and are quite solid. A tier is quite a good amount above all Mario Kart track averages, and it's just overall a really good track. S tier is an incredible track and much above the average. And finally, Double S is the top cut of all Mario Kart tracks, which are like the top 20 of every Mario Kart track. Like, these are really good tracks that I really like. To start, our 1F tier track is number 30, GBA Vanilla Lake 1. This is such a nothing burger of a track. It's a super short track, just a 10-second circle where you just press right and accelerate forward. The ice blocks are annoying. There's like these stupid rainbow blocks that I've always hated. Like, why couldn't they just make the walls of the tracks ice blocks instead of rainbow blocks that ruin the feel? And there's also the screen shaking from Snowland, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know why they added it, maybe like it's connected to the backdrop, because for some reason all the Super Mario Kart tracks in Super Circuit just drop the backgrounds from other tracks, even if it doesn't make sense at all. Just boring and frustrating. And even though the background's nice, again, it's the Snowland background, not this Vanilla Lake fake of a track. I just don't really like this track. It's boring, it's frustrating, and it only has a decent song, so it goes to the bottom of our list. Our start of E tier is Super Mario Kart's Vanilla Lake 1. This is just an upgrade of the GBA version. It has its own background, which is quite decent, not as good as the GBA Snowland background, but at least it's its own background, and it's not stolen. It has no screen shaking, and there's some pipes, so there's a second set of obstacles, and it's not just the ice blocks. So it goes here at number 29. 28 is GBA Vanilla Lake 2. This has the same problems as its one counterpart, but it has more fun ice block placements that have to like weave through them, and you have to weave also in between the rainbow blocks. And it's fun to hop over the cracks of the track, and it's just overall a lot more fun than the one counterpart on GBA. Don't get me wrong, it is still a boring circle with annoying screen shaking and very little hazards, but for what it is, I guess it's an okay way to add the Vanilla Lake 2 into GBA if you had to strip down a lot of its fluff. The beginning of D tier sees Tour's version of Vanilla Lake 1. This is how you do a lot with a little. They added tons of hazards like water spouts and penguins, and even a whole gliding area. Unfortunately, no matter how much you add to it, this is still a circle. It even added a new skybox, but again, I love what they did with this. It is just a circle though. And after they added all this new stuff, it's completely ruined by the fact that there is built-in Tour Smart Steering. The slippery ice would have made this a really fun challenge on any other game, but the fact that Tour has that stupid like smart steering system that was brought over from 8, it kind of ruins the track for me. Sadly, the rainbow blocks also return, and at certain points they kind of make me feel a bit claustrophobic. This track does so much to try and make it not look like a circle, but the smart steering kind of ruins it and makes it feel very easy, like you can just shut your head off. So it goes here at number 27. Our 26th ice track is Super Mario Kart's Vanilla Lake 2. I know it's been all vanilla lakes, and that's kind of boring, but that's because there's not a lot to these vanilla lakes. It's just circle. It's almost like so plain, so vanilla maybe. At least jumping over the cracks is fun, and the ice blocks are a cool dynamic hazard. 25th is the tour version of DK Pass. I never liked any of the DK passes really that much, but this tour version is definitely the worst. The lodge at the beginning is kind of cool, I guess, but that's about all I like. To start, I prefer the blue bricks in the tunnel area in the 7 and DS version over the kind of lodgy wood feel it has in the tour version. It also just is not as difficult, and it doesn't have a mountain climbing risk feel that the 7 and especially the DS version have. Because in those renditions you can fall off, you're always so close, you're just teetering on the edge. But because of the smart steering, it doesn't really feel challenging, you're at very little risk of falling off. And the climb down part feels a bit clunky, but I actually like that it's slippery and clunky. It feels very like you're rushing down. You're not in control, and that's good. It feels like it's an intense situation. That's the only part of the track I really like. And besides that, it's just a slightly meh track. The song is nice, but it does not feel like it fits a race. And overall, this is just a track that doesn't really interest me all too much. 24 is 7's DK Pass. This is just like the tour version, but the beginning tunnel is better being light blue bricks, and the snowmen are actual hazards instead of breaking on contact in the tour version. And you can actually fall off in this version, so there is some challenge. Again, I never liked the DK Pass stages, but the glider added is pretty cool. 23 is the DS version of DK Pass. This is the same as the 7 version. But drifting up the mountain is so much more challenging because of the naturally slippery DS drifting controls and how you have to wiggle back and forth. Unfortunately, because this is an older game, there is no glider ramp. 23 is Tour's Vanilla Lake. I know it's just a circle, but god damn it, I don't care how circular it is. Getting a big combo on this stage is so much fun, because if you hit the pipes or the blocks, you lose your combo. So you have to drift through and weave through the blocks while changing mini turbos. It is just so fun. Plus, that trick area, you can get a ton of combos from there. It's awesome. Our 22nd track is Tour Rosalina's Ice World. The sad thing about this track is that ice physics don't really work too well with Tour because of the smart steering. The song just also sucks, and I guess the water part is okay, but underwater is just overall a mediocre gimmick. And the cave part is fine, I guess, but I like the other ice caves and other tracks a lot better. This feels like it does a lot, but it doesn't really do anything that well, and it all feels very samey. As well as having, for a Rosalina-based track, very little Galaxy references, so my nostalgia neurons aren't being activated. Therefore, bad track. Make me nostalgic. 21st belongs to the 7's version of Ice World, because it's not Tour, so you can actually fall off, and the beginning drift is fun because of that. The ice cave also looks way better than in Tour. It kind of looks like the crystals from Mario Galaxy, because it has lots of blues and greens, which ice caves should have. There's also Gateway Galaxy in the background, which is a really cool Easter egg, and I don't know why they removed it in Tour. Still not that interesting race-wise, but better graphics and cool Easter eggs help it out. Tour's Merry Mountain is at 20. This track is hard carried by its visuals and music. The cute Christmas town at the beginning is so neat, and I love the pipe candles. And this version of the theme actually feels more festive than the 8 version, even though it's worse music-wise. Shame half the track is just driving straight, and the other half is just light turns, making this kind of a bore to play. It's kind of a shame that the most festive track in this list about ice and snow and festive tracks is so low, but it is at the start of C tier. The first track from Mario Kart 8 on this list is 8's Rosalina's Ice World. To start, the song is fixed. The grand piano in the old version is a unique instrument for a Mario Kart song, but it drowns out the nice xylophone. The new beat is a lot better. The half pipes in the beginning also make it so you can skip the water section. Any chance to skip the sloggy water section is a plus. And the glow up graphic wise really helps with the Aurora Borealis. Shame this was a priority retro in the BCP when Wario's shipyard was right there. Also, little side tangent, why did we get Wario's shipyard when the UK got Wario's galleon? That's such a cooler name, and we got just like a basic ass name. Our 18th is N64 Sherbetland. I like how the ice is reflected, and jumping over the crack is cool. The ice cave looks nice, and there's even penguins. The song is so nice and jolly, and it gives me the ice feels, especially because I do, in fact, have the disease of Wii nostalgia. Even though it is very open, and for being a Star Cup track, it is kind of easy, I enjoy it, so it goes here. DS Frappe Snowland is at 17. This is such a calming track. I like jumping on the snow hills, but in this version, you can barely go on the snow hills without Lackey 2 dragging you off because of all the invisible walls on the snow hills, unlike the almost Death Plains-less hills of the 64 version, which is such a shame. Jumping on the snow is so fun. The music is also a nice track. I like the Yoshi Snowman, and I find this a little bit overhated. Wii Sherbetland is the same as the N64 version, but the fact that the ice is a slight off-road in this game makes the Magic Cruiser super good, and the golden mushroom on that straightaway is so satisfying. As well, if you do the little hops on the ice, it makes a cool sound in your Wiimote, which I loved doing when I was younger. The cave also looks better, looking like your typical Mario Kart ice cave, which is great, and again, weaving through the penguins is fun. And plus, again with the Magic Cruiser thing, making a mediocre vehicle OP on one track is so funny, and this is why it's at number 16. 8's Merry Mountain is the start of B tier. It's like a tour version, but it has absolutely gorgeous visuals, a great grandiose theme that feels straight out of Mario Galaxy, and it just has really cool roads. I don't know, the roads are really shiny, and I don't know, it's just really nice to the eyes. Sadly, the track is still boring as hell to play. This is the first BCP track with anti-grav, but it doesn't really feel that good to use. There is the spinny posts, but that's about it. And I guess the train is cool. 14 is Tour Frappe Snowland. This track had such a great glow up from the glow down of the DS version. The snow is now light blue, which is so unique, and the Christmas tree added needs a much added splash of color that the track was desperately looking for. They even added a glider ramp after the snowman section, and those walls are now pretty ice sheets. It's quite a good tour glow up. Problem is, because it's tour, you sadly can't go on the ice hills, so those fun shortcuts in the original are eradicated. 13 is the OG Frappe Snowland. This may not have all the bells and whistles of tours, and it looks a lot worse, I will be honest, but the raw gameplay is so much fun. Doing mini shortcuts, like for most of the race on the snow hills, is so exhilarating, and I wish more tracks gave you freedom like this. And this is definitely one of the best N64 tracks, probably my third favorite. This is definitely a underhyped track, and I want more people talking about how fun it is. 13 is Ice Ice Outpost. This track is so overhated, it's sad. I do agree, the main split path gimmick is mediocre, but people don't talk about literally everything else about the track. The insanely incredible song, the cool built-in shortcuts in the ice cave. And even though the split track gimmick is mid, switching between the two paths isn't not fun, it's quite decently fun actually. This track is so overrated, and it's such a fun challenge, so it goes here. As a Canadian, my Vancouver opinion is fact. This track is great, it's at number 12. The music is alright, and a city being set in winter is such a nice aesthetic. I especially like the woods area on lap 1. While the second lap is a bit mediocre, it is kind of just city and feels like New York Minute. The first and third laps are really good, so it goes here at the end of B tier. And honestly, quite up on the upper echelon of cities, probably in top 3 cities in Mario Kart Tour. The start of A tier is Tour Snowland. This is such a jolly track, the music is so upbeat and fun, and while it may be simple, I just really like it, and it's hard to say why, so it's at 11. Also gonna put the 8 version like a micrometer higher at 10. It's like the same track, but you know, it has 8 physics. 9 is the GBA version of Snowland. The screen shake, while annoying, isn't too bad if you hold the screen in front of you. The music on this track is so nice, it just is the best version of the song. And I adore the backdrop so much. The nice pastel purple with the light blue sky, it is easily my favorite background in all Super Circuit. And Super Circuit's best part is the backgrounds. I absolutely adore it. While it may be simple, it looks just so nice. And I absolutely love this track, and I feel it's overhated and overglossed just because it has a screen shake. 8 is Vancouver Velocity from Mario Kart 8. This track is so gorgeous. The nice forest section is cool. It is just so pretty, and doing a jump off of the grader and back onto the grader with a mushroom is a cool, neat, small shortcut. Not to mention, they added anti-grab to a city where you drift on the bridge, which is so unnecessary but so cool. Lap 2 I find a bit boring. It's kind of just driving through the city, and sure, at the end you go on the ice rink, but I think lap 3 did the ice rink thing better anyways. Speaking of it, the ice rink is so much fun to like jump around and dodge the skaters. Lap 1 and 3 of this tracks are really good. Lap 2 is a bit of a dud, but that doesn't stop it from being an A tier. Our 7th is Animal Crossing the Winter variant. I have not played Animal Crossing, and guess what? I will probably never play Animal Crossing. This is still an absolutely great track. I love how they use frosted grass instead of just like snow. Like they could have just used your generic falling snow, but instead they just put like frosted snow on top of the normal track, which makes it so much more unique. The beach setting looks so nice at nighttime. I adore it. Not to mention the snowmen. They added snowmen. That's so awesome. I love snowmen. The music is quite decent. I like the bells. I would say it's the 3rd best music of the 3 variants, but the track itself and the vibes, which is what Animal Crossing is really going for, is definitely the best out of the 4, and 100% deserves to be the last A tier. The start of S tier is Tour DK Summit. This is at number 6. This is everything good DK Summit has, but it is a bit clunky, especially with the half pipes, and the graphics sure are Tour graphics. Again, this is a fantastic track, but I'd rather talk about everything good DK Summit does in the Wii version or the 8 version. I will add, however, though, the combo system works wonders on this track. You can easily get at least a 20 combo, and it's really fun to do. DK Summit is amazing in general, but this version is quite a bit worse than the Wii or 8 version, sadly. Though combos on this track are still incredible, and the music stays intact, so it goes here at the start of S tier. Hot take. I love Sherbet Land in Double Dash, and it's at number 5. This track gets so much undeserved hate for being slippery, especially at that one Freezy section. I think that section's the best part of the track, and it's absolutely great. Your muscle memory wants you to drift around, but this part tricks you because you really don't want to drift around in this section. The controls on the ice feel quite well if you don't drift, so when you do drift, you get flung around. And if you get hit by the freezies, it's mostly the time your fault because you're drifting when you shouldn't be. The night feel is so immaculate, and it has lots of stars. It's just a really nice skybox. The beginning drift is fun, and they even have these adorable Shy Guy couples that warms my heart. The cave is one of the best parts of the track. It's so a nice blue turquoise with the red fences doing great accents. They even have these little faces blowing snow, which there's these little faces all over the track, which is so silly. I absolutely adore this song. It's so nice and catchy, and just a great winter theme. The part between the Freezy part and the cave area isn't the best. It's not bad, it's just kind of forgettable. Overall, this is an extremely overhated track that goes in S tier. DK Summit in 8 is absolutely amazing, and it's at number 4. To start, this song is the best version of the theme. It's not my favorite, probably from nostalgia, but the synth is absolutely great. I like the beat, it's so unbelievably catchy, and it even taught me how to count all the way up to 4. The track is so complex and fun. You start by going up a cannon, which represents a cable car at a ski resort, which is so cool. It also works really well with the item system in 8 because they go so far in the cable car, and since the items are based off of distance, you get 9th to 12th based items by only waiting a bit. And it doesn't really feel like a bagging track because of the double cut is shroomless, so first place still has the advantage. And bagging is still a viable strategy on this track. Speaking of that, the double cut is a fun, skillful shortcut that can be done in multiple ways and has stood the test of time as one of the shortcut greats. The tricking area with the bumps does feel worse than the original because they have worse trick animations in 8 than they do in Wii, but it is still really fun to trick. The final area is so fun. You could either act like a loser and weave beside the snowbanks and not even touch the half pipes because you're too scared of lowering your GSP to half pipe wonkiness, or you could be an absolute Chad and ride the half pipes with the Shy Guys and have a lot of fun. Speaking of half pipes, they are so buggy, and it's pretty funny even though it is a dock down to the track score. It is undeniably hilarious when you lose 5 positions at the end of the race because the half pipe decided today you're going to the moon. I do think the snow looks worse than the original, but that's just a minor nitpick. And besides that and the glitchy half pipes and trick animations, this is overall a great track that goes at the end of S tier. Sherbet Land in 8 is the first track of SS tier, and it's at number 3. I used to not feel very strongly either way about this track, but then I changed and realized it was peak. The glorious HD of 8 Deluxe is what this track needed. The nice fireworks add so much to this track. It feels like we're at a community skating festival or something like that, especially because there's Christmas lights and fire geysers at that one part, which gives it a whole new vibe compared to the original. The Freezy section looks cool. While it has worse gameplay, visual-wise, it makes up for it in spades. With the freezes getting this cool white glow, the awesome ice structures that look so good, and the fire geysers and Christmas lights with fireworks, it is a incredible set piece. Sadly, gameplay-wise, it's nerfed with the freezies being worse, and there's less tight controls, so the ice isn't dangerous because, well, 8 obviously has more tight controls than Double Dash. But the glider ramp added sort of makes up for that, especially because you can do it shroomless by jumping right before the off-road. The cave is so cool, the ice looks so fantastic, and it got the glow up it needed. The fact they added underwater paths so seamlessly, unlike something like Wario Stadium in 8, I absolutely adore it. Even though the paths aren't very helpful, if you fall in, it's not the worst thing. Especially since the set piece of you jumping out of the water and into the cave is really cool. And you seeing the orange boost pad accents the colors along with the red gate inside the cave. That area that was OG in the original with the snowmen and stuff in between the two best parts of the tracks is now fine because they added a really pretty Aurora Borealis. The track music is so nice. I especially like the strings fiddling along in the song, and the snare drum is quite nice. If there's one 8 Sherbetland Defender, I'm alive. If there's none, I'm not dead. I probably had like a brain accident or something, or the ninjas lobotomized me. This is an immaculate track to start off the top 3. DK Summit Wii is our runner-up at 2nd place. The music screams 2008, and even though it's a bit worse than the 8 version, I still prefer it, but this might be a bit because nostalgia. The better trick animations in Wii that are more extreme really help this track a lot, especially because, there's so much tricks in this track, whether it be the bump area or the half-pipe area. I've said a lot of what I want to say in 8, but that's because everything I said in the 8 section tracks besides the buggy parts and the worst looking snow. So it just takes the best parts from 8 and it's better here. This is a spectacular track that definitely deserves the 2nd place spot. Our number 1 track is obviously Mount Wario. So much has been said about this track, and yet still not enough. You start by jumping out of a glider. Because it is so cold and intense, you need to be dropped off by a goofy looking military grade vehicle because it is that harsh. The track is slippery, but it feels fair, and the ice is so beautiful on lap 1, and cutting that corner right before lap 2 is so thrilling. The ice cave is the best ice cave in all of Mario Kart, bar none. Gliding over the rushing water and barely grazing that speed boost is so much fun. The dam area, probably one of the weakest points of the track, and it's still incredible. It gives me Big Blue or Cloud Top Cruise vibes, where you're weaving from speed boost to not lose speed, and it's really fun and a great use of anti-grav. Even though it is a bit short, it's like 5 seconds long maybe. The tree part is a fun challenge that feels so satisfying to master, and that secret glide ramp with the mushroom is a very cool detail. The final lap is the embodiment of speed. It really feels like you're skiing with the Shy Guys in the background, weaving from side to side, barely not crashing into the red fence. That final area, when you're hitting the speed boost, weaving from side to side, before gliding off into the speed rings, it is like the embodiment of speed before Big Blue took that title. It is so much fun. If DK Summit and Sherbetland were like low SS tier tracks, this is like a super high SS tier track and might be the best track in all of Mario Kart. The song feels like you're on a mission, trekking down a mountain. The violin is so magical, and this is a spectacle of a course that is the perfect way to cap off our list. That wraps up the list and the video. I hope you enjoyed. Here's the full list. And if you liked it, consider liking, subscribing, and joining the Discord in the description. It's lots of fun, and you'll get to know when content's coming out and if I'm streaming. Anyways, so until next time.